and then we can use this to enlighten more and create items so that we test if we are understanding these concepts or not. So for today, I will simply take you through transport. I will simply take you through the transport. I will simply take you through why we need transport. Okay, just a moment as I prepare this. Okay. Okay, so there we are. So I know we shall simply go through this because it is an area where people have been raising most emphasis. I'll briefly go through it and we shall keep sharing on what we must do. So under transport, I will simply take us through what we shall cover. We shall simply understand the meaning of the keywords under transport. And then we shall also understand why there is need for materials to move, and then how organisms meet the needs, and then the importance of transport in mammals, and then the mammalian circulatory system, and then we shall do some discussions and harmonizations, and then we shall go to the next topic. But of course, for those areas where we have better information about, I will simply break them down so that I reach that particular area of much emphasis. But of course, there is no you can reach that particular area, like I said, all of them from the blues, but we should start from the simpler ones we know, then we reach those areas when you have some information. So we shall understand a few words under this transport. Mainly, I know we did transport in plants in senior 2. And that's when we talked about why there is need for transport. Like we know very well that we have unicellular organisms. Uni means one. So unicellular organisms are those organisms which are mainly made up of one cell. And not in biology, all life starts from a cell. Okay, some people are still continuing here with the questions. Many areas of interest. I've seen blood groups. We are going to capture all of them here, so it shouldn't be a worry anymore. We understood why there is need for a transport system. That is in senior 2. Like we know for unicellular organisms, we said unicellular organisms, un means one. Then of course cellular means organisms, cellular organisms, for example. So when you say unicellular organisms, we mean organisms that are made up of one cell. So for unicellular organisms, they also have materials to transport. Like we know, any living organism must carry out life processes. And these life processes take place in a cell. So meaning even if it is one organism, it is also, even if it is made up of one cell, it is also a living organism. Therefore, it must carry out all the life processes. And these life processes need materials to enter in to support the process and also the byproducts to live. That's why we must get a way by which the materials shall enter that particular cell, and also the way by which the materials shall leave that cell. That's why we must need a transport system. Now it is even worse for bigger organisms, because if at all the unicellular organism is needing a transport system, for example, now what about the larger ones, the ones we call multicellular? Multi means several, just like when you said someone is a multimillionaire, it means that they have many streams of income. Yes, please. There is someone saying I pardon. Maybe you can be specific to which particular area. Though I'm just giving an overview of what you are going to cover. So we are going to capture all that down as we go on. So you shouldn't mind so much. So I was simply trying to explain the particular keywords we shall be meeting down there as we shall be talking about transport. We shall meet words like simple diffusion or simply diffusion. Now, diffusion refers to the movement of materials. And this one is so common this one is so common in unicellular organisms. Can someone define for us diffusion with whatever you know about it? If someone knows anything about diffusion, you can type there, yes. Tevo, you can type for us there. Yes, Emanuela knows. Wow, a number of you know. So you can simply type for me there something. Actually, you can type for me the keywords. For example, movement of materials, and then another keyword which comes with it there. Anything you know about diffusion, please? Not yes. Movement of molecules from region of high concentration to region of low concentration. That is the idea from Melissa. Diffusion is the movement of particles from any area of high concentration to low concentration. That's an idea from Josh. Not good, not, that's a good trial. Emanuela says movement of materials from high to low. That's a good try also. Martha, you type. Martha, just type. Is the molecule movement of molecules from area of good. Yeah, like you realize most of the things you're typing are almost similar, eh? There is something sweet that is missing in that. Someone has brought it here. Let me check on this one. This is who? Tevo has an idea here. Is the movement of molecules from the region of the high concentration to the region of, to the region of the high concentration again through a concentration gradient. Okay, it was, wow, okay, it is fairly good. Tevo, you can give it a try. Improve it. Movement of solute materials from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. You're taking us back. Tevo, improve that. Through permeable membrane. No. Just type it. There is someone here. This is Azaria. Anita. Movement of molecules region through a concentration gradient. Okay. Why through? Movement of materials down. Okay. Anion. Movement of materials from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Good. Okay, those are good ideas, eh? At least people have ideas about what you're talking about diffusion. So due to difference in concentration gradients, good. So, okay, now semi-permeable membrane, okay, that is wrong. Vania, that is wrong. It's not along, through a semi-permeable membrane. So that's why I wanted Tevo to improve it. Movement of molecules from the region of high concentration to a region of low concentration to the level of the concentration gradient. Okay, I think let me harmonize on this. Let me harmonize. You all have good ideas, at least. Yeah, I like your ideas. So usually for diffusion, it is movement along a concentration gradient. Okay, it is along a concentration gradient, not through a concentration gradient. Okay, so if we would improve Tevo's definition, that's the way we could do it. I would like to take that one of Tevo. Okay, it is through not through a concentration gradient, but along a concentration gradient. Are we together? Yeah, so that is diffusion. And if we take, we can remember when we did some experiment on the tea bag in senior 2. You remember when you put a tea bag in, when you want to take some tea, and then you put a tea bag in the tea cup, you could obviously see the color of the water change. You remember the process by which the tea changed? Someone has even brought there a good one using potassium permanganate, and that one is also a very common experiment. You can cut your Irish potato tubes, and then you dip them in the potassium permanganate. Potassium permanganate is purple in color, and then when when you try to cut the tube, you'll see that the permanganate has diffused in two. So we say that it doesn't diffuse through, but diffuses along a concentration gradient. So that's the main improvement we shall make. Otherwise, you all had some good ideas, but I'd like to take that one of Tevo. So Tevo can improve, and then you type a final one. We are doing transport, please, and we are just on the introduction. But potassium permanganate is some of the materials we need when you are carrying out an experiment on diffusion. Passive one. Yes, it is passive. Passive movement. It is not active. Okay? It is not active. It is passive. Yes. So other terms we shall meet are terms like osmosis. Can you also say something about osmosis? How do you understand osmosis? And I just want you to highlight the keywords, muscle in relation to the movement. You should highlight what moves, and it moves from where to where. Yes? Who can tell us anything? Okay, if you know anything about osmosis, you just type yeah. Someone has put there something nice. I've seen semi-permeable membrane. Good idea. Good. Movement of water from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration. Good idea. Movement of moisture molecules from high concentration to low concentration through semi-permeable membrane. All those are good ideas, yes. But remember, Charles Stephen gave the best. We've seen before Manela here is Mariam. She has said osmosis is the net movement of water molecules from a region of high water potential to a low water potential through a semi-permeable membrane. Yes. Good idea. Is the movement? No, don't put just put one. Movement of water molecules from a hypertonic solution to a hypotonic across semi-permeable membrane. Wow, good terms are coming, and I like that. And that's to bring out those good terms, and we try to elaborate on them. Osmosis is the movement of water from a region of low solute potential to a high solute potential. Good. Movement of water molecules from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Okay, water molecules from a high, okay, good. Osmosis this is lean. Osmosis is the movement where it is in low solute. Okay, good. So on this, I will let me try to harmonize on this, because I know I still have a lot to work on. Movement of water molecules from dilute medium to a concentrated one. Okay, that's all good, but we shall define them according to the keywords I've seen here in our conversation. One, I'll start by using the water itself, like most people will put it. So is the movement of water molecules from a region of their high concentration to the region of their low concentration. Okay. Then, yes, so it must be through a semi-permeable membrane. So the keywords there, if you're talking about in terms of movement, water moves from where it is too much to where it is too little through a semi-permeable membrane. If you're relating to the salts or solutes, then it moves from a region of low solute concentration to a region of high solute concentration through a semi-permeable membrane, like Anyo in Frida has put it here. That's good. Okay. Also, if you're using hypertonic and hypotonic, then you can define it as is the movement of water molecules from a hypotonic water that moves, not solutes. So that's what we should put on more emphasis. Okay, so maybe go to the meaning of hypertonic and hypotonic. Usually hyper means high. They are very high, okay? So when you say hypertonic, it means that something has a high sugar, has a high solute concentration. And hypotonic means has a Hannah Montana, please. You can simply type. We shall allow that time for discussions and harmonization at the end. Okay. You can type it. It's okay. Yeah, that's when you shall even allow video. That's why I've also put off mine. Okay, please. So, yeah, it is Form 2 work, but we're trying to build on from the previous to come to the present, because I didn't want us to just jump and learn from nowhere. Okay, so those are the keywords we are going to be using as we go on how materials move across. So we shall also go through why we need a transport, why organisms need a transport system. And then we shall go through the mammalian circulatory system. And then we shall do some discussions and harmonizations on key important topics. Yes, Nanteza? For the definition for osmosis? Hypotonic, good. So hypertonic, I said when something has a high solute concentration. When a solution has a high solute concentration, we say it is hypertonic. It's like this. Hypertonic. Has a high solute concentration. Okay, that one. Then its opposite is hypotonic. Like that. I hope that answers you properly well. And then, so I know these keywords shall be very many. Then the one with contact. I hope it is not typing error or something. Okay, so let's go to the main introduction now. So, of course, we said this refers to the movement of materials from one part of the organism to another. like I told you why it is necessary to have a transport system, or why materials must be moved from one part to another. So of course, we don't simply mean that they must come from outside to inside, but even within they can move. Just like for example, in us humans, we must have one substance move from one particular cell to another one, just for our own good, and we shall state those particular ones. So materials move into and out of the animal's body. We are going to do that. And then the types of transport depend on the size and the complexity. I've talked about that. In cell organisms like bacteria, they require a simple transport mechanism. Why? Because for them, they have a very short distance. So like we said, their distance across which materials move is very small, okay? And that's when you bring in the aspect of surface area to volume ratio. So I know you all have notebooks there. I would like to explain this to you. Surface area to volume ratio. Joshua Mark, I wish you can turn off that camera. Okay, but it's okay. You can have it on. It's well. So, but what I want to say is I want to explain why small organisms have a large surface area to volume ratio, and then large organisms have a smaller surface area to volume ratio. Usually the Tevo, why? I wish you could turn off the camera, maybe. Tevo. Okay. Joshua Mark, you are the good thing you've turned on the video. You can be of great importance to me here now. I want you to explain to me why small organisms have a large surface area to volume ratio, while large organisms have a small surface area to volume ratio. I want Joshua Mark to answer for me that one of why small organisms have a large surface area to volume ratio. And then Hannah Montana will answer for me why large organisms have a smaller surface area to volume ratio. I'll give you an example of small organisms like, let's talk about an amoeba. You know, amoeba that we've ever heard of something like amoebic dysentery. It's a common disease mostly in the African setting. It comes from one species of the amoeba. Amoeba is made up of one cell, and it belongs to kingdom. It belongs to kingdom Protoctista. Yeah. For large organisms, we can give an example of an elephant. At least all of us are familiar with an elephant. If you're not familiar with an elephant and you're a person who understands so much of the sea, you can relate with the shark or a whale. So Hannah Montana, can you type that into the chat box? No, there is no semi-permeable membrane in solids. Zipporah is asking that. Okay, let me pardon for Hannah Montana. I said that I want you to explain for me why large organisms like an elephant have a small surface area to volume ratio. Yes. Can simply type it. And then Joshua Mark, I wanted to explain for me why small organisms have a large surface area to volume ratio. If you can type it, it's okay. Okay. So okay. The greater the volume, the smaller the surface area to volume ratio. By the smaller the volume, the greater the surface area to volume ratio. Okay, that is according to Zipporah. A large surface area to volume ratio helps small organisms transport in and out of materials easily. That is good. That's someone from SS. Didn't put the name there. Joshua Mark wanted you to explain why small organisms like this amoeba have a large surface area to volume ratio. And someone helped you answer, Zipporah helped you answer it very well. So the purpose of, the reason why they have a large surface area to volume ratio is for easy transport of materials. Though it could be explained using a calculation, of course. But I know you won't be able to do it here. So for small organisms like the amoeba there, remember it must also have, okay, Martha has put there something. This is because of the increased size of the organism and the great diffusion distance over which materials are supposed to move, slowing down the diffusion rate. Perfect. That's a good idea from Martha, because you know when organisms are too big, diffusion cannot take place because there are very many cells involved. Therefore, it means that when you rely on diffusion alone, materials shall take very long to reach their destiny. Okay, so that's why such organisms, we say they have a small surface area to volume ratio. And the larger organisms have a smaller surface area to the rate. Okay, good. But how we can borrow a leaf from who was it? Okay. So let's go to large organisms. Like we know at least a number of us are familiar with the elephant. Elephant is a bit of it's the largest organism on land, of course. But when you go to water, it is a different case. There are also other larger organisms there, like whales. So in this case, when you're using an elephant as an example, you can similarly use a whale as another example. But also even an earthworm is also multicellular, by the way, but though it is not as big as an elephant. So meaning such organisms that are big cannot simply rely on movement of materials by simple diffusion. Why? Because to me that they will take very long to reach with their destiny. So you can imagine you're hungry and then you're waiting for food to diffuse to you from your plate. How long do you think it would take to reach you? By that time you have starved to death. So that's why we need a complex transport mechanism for movement of materials in and out of the organism. Okay. So on this, why do multicellular organisms need transport systems? Okay. All right. Yes. Hannah Montana has added here something, objects with a large volume and small. Okay, but all those ones are good ideas. So let's explain why large material, why multicellular organisms require a transport system. So I was telling you that for small unicellular organisms, they are very small. Therefore, most of their materials simply move by simple diffusion. Cassandra Murray has done a very good thing there. And actually, I wanted that calculation. She has explained to us how she has re-illustrated using the calculation why small organisms have a large surface area to volume ratio. Good. That's a great job, Mary. Good. So let me explain here why we need a complex transport system. So for large organisms, remember, they are not like unicellular organisms like we talked about amoeba. So like we said, if they were also relying on simple diffusion, materials would take so long to reach their destiny. You can imagine a particular organism needs oxygen for it to carry out its respiration. But then the oxygen must enter through the skin to reach the alveoli. So imagine for an animal like an elephant, how long would it take for the oxygen to reach the lungs? That one would be very long. So if it doesn't develop a mechanism which can enable the movement of gases to reach the respiratory area very fast, then it means that such an organism can cease living. So such animals or such organisms usually develop a complex transport system to solve also their complex problems. So let's go through why we need a complex why animals need a complex transport system. So we have small organisms, protozoa. Protozoa, an example of a protozoa is like we talked about the amoeba, is a good example for protozoa. So those ones, their materials just simply move by simple diffusion. Why? Because they have a large surface area to volume ratio. But now, what about the large organisms? Like, let's talk about an elephant, like man. Since they are very big, it means that they should also require a complex transport system for materials to move from one particular part to another. Otherwise, if they could also be relying on simple diffusion like the amoeba, like we said, it means that if you wait for the food to diffuse through the mouth, then it goes through the cells. Imagine if there was no gut, and then the food is simply diffusing. It would take so long to reach where it is needed. So that's for such animals or such organisms, they must also develop a complex transport system to solve their problems. Why? Because for them, they are so big, therefore they have a small surface area to volume ratio. So because of that challenge, these organisms have also not waited for the challenge to take on them, but they're also facing the challenge with great strength by developing a number of mechanisms to overcome that challenge. So for large organisms, not all materials move by simple diffusion. So on this note, I'll request if there is anyone who knows any materials that move, I'll use an example of math because we are all humans. I want you to simply type a material that can move by diffusion. I can start with whose camera is open there. Shaban, Naira, something. Blood, glucose, oxygen, perfume. Good. Add them. Water. Good. Mineral salts, water, heat. Carbon dioxide, oxygen. Ammonia, Marcus says oxygen, nutrients. Bad smell from pit latrine. Good. They all diffuse, yeah? Glucose, plasma, hormones, ethanol. Urea, nitrogen, aroma of food. Good. Wow. It's good you're stating the things which are common, which commonly move at home there. Good. I'll take the example of dead cells, gas. Zainab, I said that smoke. There's someone who said that smell from the pit latrines. I should check on that one. So that we, orange. Bad smell from pit latrine. That was Mary. Okay, it's a good idea also. Yeah. Of course, simply, usually when you enter a room which has, something that's smelling bad, how do you think that smell reaches you? Of course, it reaches by diffusion. C6H12, that is, yes, that is glucose. The molecules. Okay, good. Rotten eggs. So it's not rotten eggs, but the smell of rotten eggs maybe. So, okay, let me clarify on which materials move by simple diffusion or by diffusion. So we shall argue that all gases diffuse. Okay, all gases diffuse. So like the way Marie talked about the cigarette smoke, maybe. Okay, good. So all things in gaseous state usually diffuse. That's why you see that you can be seated in a particular corner and then someone is seated in the other corner is having a stronger perfume and you can feel it simply because they diffuse. So for purposes of time, I'll also relate to the human body. On a human being, there are also some materials that move by diffusion. I'll give you a quick example of fat. Okay, it's okay, but I want us to talk about the ones within the body. For example, when you take in oxygen through gas exchange, you inhale the oxygen, and then the only way the oxygen shall reach the capillaries is through it can cross through the capillary through diffusion. Okay, and then we have also carbon dioxide can move from the blood to the alveoli through diffusion. Okay, good. So by now, these things you said, there's someone who said blood. Now, blood is simply a mixture of many materials. So usually blood does not diffuse. Okay. Blood does not diffuse, but for us, we should not. It is gases that diffuse. Okay. For now, it is those gases that, like the oxygen, diffuses through the alveoli to the blood capillaries. Okay. Then carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood capillaries to the alveoli to be removed through gas exchange. Okay. So it is like I was giving an example of gases. Oxygen, after you breathing in, diffuses through the alveoli to through the capillary walls to blood by diffusion. Okay. Then carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood, the capillary walls through the alveoli to the lungs through diffusion. Okay. But for blood is a liquid. Okay. Blood is a liquid which is having a mixture of many things. Okay. So if you say that blood is diffusing, here we are stating about the specific materials in the blood that are able to diffuse. So not the whole blood can diffuse. Okay. Yeah. So let's continue. So let's answer how have multicellular organisms, how multicellular organisms transport issues. So they have organs that provide large surface area to volume ratio. So much as these organisms are large in size, like we said, that is a big challenge to them, but they have also got a big solutions to them. So instead of them, they can't also sit and wait for for diffusion to take place for materials to be transported. No, but they have developed very many organs. Like we know, you have a number of organs in our bodies that perform very many important roles. So you will not have to sit only focus on diffusion. So you have materials like, you have organs like the lungs, and then we have the nose, we have the mouth, we have the kidneys. All those ones have been put to solve the issues of transport, such that materials can easily either be stored in those particular organs or enable the easy movement of materials to the required sites. So other organisms, like mainly humans, we have what we call blood vessels, and materials simply move through these blood vessels. Like we have the pulmonary arteries, we have the pulmonary veins. So instead of blood diffusing, like the way people were saying, if it could be a gas in any way, so it has to flow through these tubes, and therefore it can reach the legs easily than it could if it was diffusing. So if instead of food diffusing from the mouth, instead you have the digestive tract, we have the food moving through the esophagus to reach the stomach, to reach the ileum, and then it is absorbed when it has been broken down. So they have a transport or circulatory system. I've already talked about that to quicken the movement of materials. Okay, sorry about this. Let's go through why it is important to transport materials. Why it is important is for distribution of nutrients, because if these materials are not being transported, then nutrients could move at a very slow speed to the areas where they are supposed to serve some important functions. So it is because of the transport system, these materials can be moved to the different areas with great ease. So then we have the oxygen delivery. Like we know we need oxygen for tissue respiration. So because of that, we must have it delivered in time. That's why anytime there are delays in the transport of oxygen to the respiring cells, you either collapse or you faint. And the purpose of that is this, because oxygen is used in the respiratory process to make energy. Meaning if your cell is not receiving oxygen, Trevor or Loka, sorry, I'd left you back. You wanted me to pardon something? Yes, you can type it there. Type it. Oh, sorry. I've been moving so fast. Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. We can go through here. I think here. Yes. Christina. Should I go through why, how the muscle organs have solved the problem? Type yes again if I told it was yes. I'm just seeing it up there. Okay, perfect. Let me go through it again. So we've said that. Okay, good. Okay, let me go through it. So we've said that these organisms have tried to solve this problem of large size, one, by developing the organs. Yes, maybe just type it, please. Good. Daniela has answered something there. So we said these organs have developed organs to solve the problem of small surface area to volume ratio. Like for example, we say that instead of the food diffusing through the mouth, through many cells to reach the small intestines, instead we have developed a digestive tract which has the esophagus, so that the food can directly be directed towards the ileum for absorption to take place. Okay. Instead of the urine diffusing, then it comes out as sweat, which will take a bit long. It can be collected through the help of the organs like the kidneys, and then it can be brought out through the urinary tract. Okay. So all those solutions have come up to solve the problems of large size, which means small surface area to volume ratio. Another solution the large organisms have developed is they have developed what we call the transport or circulatory system. And this one has enabled the movement of materials. So if it wasn't for the transport system, we couldn't be meaning taking in water every time, and then of course it can get out through excretion. But because of this transport system, it can sense and transport water to areas where it is needed, and maybe take it away from areas where it is too much. Okay, so all those ones are solutions which have been put up by the large organisms which have a small surface area to volume ratio. Okay, so those are the main solutions that animals have put in place to solve all these challenges. But of course, there are very many more. Like if we could break them down, there are very many, but we can hint on a few of them simply because we are doing a recap of the previous work so that we can collect knowledge for the lymphatic system and the blood groups that we are talking about in the questions or in your expectations. So let me proceed to the importance of transport system. Well, I think I'll have to refine them because actually we're supposed to go through scenarios, but I sensed that it was the first session with you and I didn't feel it was wise to take you through that. I wanted to familiarize myself with you to get your expectations, and then maybe we plan according to your pace. So I think I'll say that I will, but well, with your demand, I can refine them, then I share with you. I have no problem with it. So, importance of a transport system. He said that it helps in distribution of nutrients because there are many nutrients which are coming out from digestion. And these nutrients must be sent to the particular areas where they are needed. For example, let's say someone has eaten chicken. Of course, when the food reaches the stomach, it won't be chicken, but there we shall, let's say, have a high concentration of proteins. Then when it is broken down further, we shall get amino acids. These amino acids are going to be used for let's say making proteins. Okay, let's say making proteins like if someone has let's say someone has got a scratch on the hand, therefore that particular part must be replaced, and the replacement must come from the amino acids that you ate from the chicken. Therefore, those amino acids shall be transported from the digestive system, the ileum, to that particular part of the hand which has been bruised. If you ate glucose, let's say you ate cassava for lunch, cassava has reached the small intestines, there it shall reach there as glucose. This glucose is going to be used in the making of energy. Let's say you've eaten cassava because you have a football match. So that cassava must be changed into glucose, and the glucose should be taken into the cells of your legs that are going to run. So the only way the glucose shall reach the cells of the legs so that you can run very fast shall be through the transport of materials, which is done by blood. Then we have oxygen delivery. Oxygen, of course, comes through breathing in, through the nose to the respiratory, to the trachea, to the bronchioles, like that, to the alveoli. So after it reaching the alveoli, it must be transported, like we said. Let's say Mark here is preparing for a basketball game, and then they have eaten the glucose. The glucose won't form energy alone unless it has oxygen is present. Therefore, you must take the oxygen must be transported from the alveoli to those particular muscles that are going to exercise. So that's why the transport of materials is very important. And then we have waste removal. It is also important to remove waste from the body. Why? Because we know that when wastes accumulate so much into the body, they become so harmful and they can lead to death. That's why you often see that when someone is too ill and their kidneys can't remove waste from their body, then they must be put on dialysis. Dialysis means that it is the bodies that, the machines are the ones helping you remove the wastes from the body. So wastes must also be removed. Otherwise, if they are left there, they become so poisonous to the body. We have hormone transport. So hormones are also very important. Like all of you have hormones. So for example, if I'll give an example of who? Stacy. Stacy is Stacy is so afraid of cats. and then she's seated watching TV, and then all of a sudden a cat comes from nowhere. Stacy will have to gather the energy to run away for her life simply because she has phobia for cats. The only way Stacy can gain the energy to run away shall be because of some hormones that shall be made very fast and then transported in the blood or through a particular line. Therefore, all these hormones, well, of course, we cannot have only those. We have also many hormones that are responsible for other cycles in the body, important cycles in the body. So all those must be transported in blood. So we have very many hormones. Hormones responsible for growth and metabolism. So very many that I can't exhaust. Then you have immune response. So immune response is the fight against diseases. For example, usually if you take, I'll give you a case where someone takes something poisonous, for example. So someone has taken something, or someone has eaten something very dirty, and this thing must be sensed by the body, and it reacts by secreting antibodies. So the only way the antibodies can reach to that foreign body, germ which has entered the body, shall be through the transport, which is done by the heart and its vessels and then the blood. Then you have temperature regulation. By the way, blood also plays a very crucial role in temperature regulation, more so for organisms that live in cold areas, because usually, remember, Mariam, I have an issue. Okay. Type it. Is the nerve part of the hormones? Tevo, that's good. Now, Trevor Oloka raised up the hand. Just type. Let me answer that question. Is the nerve part of the hormones? No. Nerves are not part of the hormones. Hormones, nerves are, though they are both in the same system of the nervous system, but nerves are different from hormones. Okay? Hormones are mainly, I would take them like they are sisters, or would I say they are brothers of enzymes, but just that they are only different that in the way that enzymes are made directly to where they are working. They usually don't move. But for hormones, they can move. In other words, they can be made in Kampala and they move to Gulu to work there. But but enzymes are made in Kampala and they work within Kampala, if we could relate to that. However, while nerves are different, nerves, though they serve the same role, but for them, they usually we have what we call the parasympathetic and sympathetic. So they perform usually the similar role of the nervous coordination, but they are not really the same. Okay. This is the transport of, okay, I don't know. Daniela, can you put that right? Okay, so hormones are not nerves, okay? Stacy, basketball. Okay, it's well. You liked that example. So let's continue with the temperature regulation. Trevor, you can type that, please. Type that. Trevor. I wish you can type it. Okay, let me sum up here, then I will let you. Okay, so, you needed to copy which one? Importance of a transport system in animals? Is it that? Oh, someone has given you a good idea. Screenshot, please. Okay, no, I wouldn't wish to be faster. Of course, I'm there. So can you copy it now? Maybe you can use this time to, as you're copying, you'll hopefully tell us when you're finished, because I don't want us to be very fast and I leave you behind. Meanwhile, someone can type here a question and then we handle it as we wait for Trevor to finish copying here. Hannah Montana. Yes, I know some of you can't screenshot, so you can write, which is okay. Yes, I will send. I think, okay, for purposes of time, I will send you the work, okay? Yeah, I will send you the work, so don't mind. No, many schools are here. Don't ask about schools. Just introduce yourself. Okay. Let's go to the next one, maintaining homeostasis. I think that one comes as a new word, homeostasis. So we usually have what we call the internal environment and external environment. Okay. I'll give you an example of who should I use here? Spence, Melissa. Okay, let me use Timon. Usually when it is cold, I'll use an example when it is cold, because at least coldness is something more common. I use Masit. No, I've already used Timon. It's okay. So usually the outside can be cold, okay? But inside it should be warm, not so, like our bodies. So the moment it is cold, and then for you, can it be? It can't be. Of course, it can't be cold, and then someone is feeling very warm. That one can't be there. So usually the body has to strike that balance, such that when it is cold, the body has to react back by bringing warmth. That's why when it is cold, you put on a sweater. If you don't put on a sweater, you start shivering. You all start coiling around, like, okay. The reason as to why you do that is to maintain the temperature of your body, and that's what we call homeostasis. Okay. So, bringing about that balance between your internal environment and the external is what we call homeostasis. Simply, okay, let me highlight it here. That word. So I said that on the body, why do babies feel cold on a rainy day than adults? Wow, that's a good question. Oh, that one means continued. Continued, okay? Okay, so so we usually have the internal environment and then the external, okay? The external is the one which is the environment. Then inside, the internal is the one which is within your body, after your skin, the inside, okay? So always that there must be, your body should always keep its environment constant, okay? Such that it shouldn't be fluctuating up, down, like that, okay? Someone answer a reply here. No, don't type many. Don't type many. Encourage. What was the question? Type the question, maybe. Okay, we shall reach there. That's a good answer. So usually we must strike that balance. Someone asked here the question that why do babies feel more cold than adults? Dressler, you remember when you talked about surface area to volume ratio? I want to answer this question of Dressler. So usually babies, remember, they are small in size, okay? Meaning they have a large surface area to volume ratio, okay? Meaning they can easily lose more heat as compared to the big person who has a smaller surface area to volume ratio. Okay? No, not now. We shall discuss that later. Blessing, don't type that. Okay. So let's go to the mammalian circulatory system. And at least we are nearing where you all wanted. Okay. So for the mammalian circulatory system, of course, we simply refer to the movement of blood throughout the body. Who has ever imagined how long the blood takes after it moving from the heart? Let's say it has gone to the legs. How long do you think it can take to come back? You can simply type there how long you think it takes for the blood to move from the heart to the legs and then it comes back. Type 20 hours, minutes. 1 second, 5, 30 minutes, 4 hours, 30 minutes, 1 minute, 4. Okay. Seconds, that is so short. A day. So I said that a full day. 2 seconds. No. 5 minutes. No. Now that one shall be our area for research now. Next time we should, as you introduce yourself, you should type the number, the time it takes for the blood to move from the heart to the legs until it comes back. 24 hours, no. Let's use that as we shall do that as our research and we shall present it the next time we meet. So for now, let me finish up this. Let's all take that as our research work, okay? Okay. I'm going to repeat it all, Dante. So don't mind. So let me simply explain this. And I'm going to explain it using this. Okay. So usually we have two main systems. We have what we call the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation that operate in the systems here. So we have I'll clearly point out the parts which are pulmonary and then the ones which are systemic. So for pulmonary refers to this time when the blood leaves through the pulmonary artery, okay, comes to the lungs to pick oxygen, and then comes back to the heart through the pulmonary vein. That's the one we call the pulmonary circulation. And then the systemic circulation is when the blood leaves through the aorta, and then it comes, of course, here we only show that it is coming this side, but some blood also goes upwards to the head region. But so here the systemic is when the blood leaves through the aorta, then it goes to the whole body, to the body organs, and then it comes back through the vena cava. That is the systemic. I will repeat. For pulmonary is when the blood leaves through the pulmonary artery to the lungs to pick oxygen. Then it comes back through the pulmonary vein to the heart. Okay, that is pulmonary circulation. And then the systemic circulation is when the blood leaves through the aorta and then goes to the whole body. Then it returns through the vena cava. Okay. So that's the one we call systemic. Of course, I'll take you through this. No, you'll give me those answers next time. I'll not want them today. Okay, Mercy. Mercy, I will want them next time. Don't type them here. Okay, so usually, let's finish up. We go into the discussion session. So usually we have I know, systemic again. Okay, systemic is when the blood leaves through the aorta. Okay, the blood leaves the heart through the aorta. Okay, then it goes to the whole body, and then it returns through the vena cava back to the heart. Okay, Cruz Vero. I think you've got it now. Hopefully Monday. Think Monday. Next, I'm not sure. You receive the timetable. So I wanted to hint on something here. Slide 11. Okay. Okay, I can still explain it here. I know much like when we're drawing our heart right from our introduction to science, we have always been noting that we only draw the heart, of course. We don't draw it in 3-dimension in most cases, unless when you endeavor to do so. However, usually when we always have this vena cava, for example, divided. We have the one which brings blood from the head region, and then we have another one which brings blood from the lower region. Okay, but of course, usually when you're drawing, we usually we cut it off just at the point of entry. Okay, so meaning we leave out those the vena cava which brings blood from up, and then the vena cava which brings blood from the lower parts. So usually those vessels that take blood to, or bring blood from the upper region, they are called superior. So we can call them the superior vena cava. We can call them the superior aorta, maybe in that case. Okay. So all those ones which bring blood from the head region or the upper region of the heart are called superior, or sometimes they are called anterior. So usually I use these two words: superior stroke anterior. Okay. Then for those vessels that bring blood from below the heart or from the lower parts of the heart, meaning from the mesenteries of the stomach, or of the abdominal region rather, from the legs, we usually call them inferior. Or we can also call them posterior. You'll always, also when you're researching, you'll always find those keywords attached. So those ones, it doesn't mean that they have given them a new name, but it means that they are referring to a particular region where they are taking or bringing blood from. Okay. So I know when you'll be researching, you'll find such words. And I know you will let me know next time when we are meeting that we discovered this. Okay. So those are the main things I wanted us to hint about for today. Otherwise, I'll open this for question and answer. And I would wish, okay, I think, let me go and unmute. Okay. You can type the question. Type the question. So next time, okay, it can't get well. You can raise up the hand, maybe. Okay. Who wanted to talk? So next time we shall talk about we shall briefly go through the blood vessels, and we shall do some items concerning transport, hopefully next time. Okay. Okay, Doreen has asked that. Just a moment, one by one. Okay. Okay, let me answer this. Why is the lower part called superior? No, it is not superior. The lower part is inferior. Okay. All those parts which are below the heart, their vessels are usually referred to, like they are meaning the ones which are bringing blood to the heart. Okay. We usually call them inferior or posterior. Posterior simply means from behind, but now here we shall simply refer to it as from the lower parts, because humans are straight, they're upright, therefore you don't have a behind. Okay, so the lower parts are called inferior. Superior are the upper parts, simply because usually that's when they are slaughtering. When you're slaughtering a hen or a goat, you can't start by cutting off the leg, can you? You always start by cutting off the head to kill it faster. So it is because of the necessity of supply of blood to the upper parts, which are higher than the heart, that we get that name superior. Okay? Because we know how the brain also plays part of the roles on other organs of the body. So it is the lower parts are inferior, not superior. Okay? Doreen, you can put that right. The large surface area of a small organism. All right, I don't get well. Will you send me some work? Okay. Does transport involve the use of energy? Yes. We have what we call active transport. Active transport involves the use of energy for materials to move across. Why do they call the vena cavas posterior? I say that the posterior is the one which is coming from below the heart, or from the regions which are below the heart. That's why we call, like we say it's called posterior. Posterior simply means from behind. Then anterior simply means from the front. Okay. So we usually take the head as being the front, and then our lower parts being the behind. Therefore, that's why I call them posterior. Okay. Yeah. And then about the surface area to volume, about the surface area for the small surface. Don't get it well there, Tevo. Maybe you can retype it better. Yes, it is one vena cava, but it divides to form the anterior and the posterior. But usually when you're drawing, you only show one. Spence said that warm water causes vasodilation. It is very true, because usually that's why you see when it is cold, it is impossible for you to usually see your vessels when it is cold in most cases. But when it is warm, you can easily see them. Why? Because they dilate. That's why they are more visible on the skin. Okay. If I know if you can't see yours, then maybe you must have ever seen for another person. That one usually happens when it is hot, because there is vasodilation. Dilation simply means opening up or increase in diameter. So it is very true. What you put is very true. Warmth can lead to vasodilation. It is very correct. Passive doesn't need energy. Yes. Passive simply means it doesn't need any energy. Active needs energy. Nice to meet you, Jedida. No question. When talking about how the heart is adapted to its functions, do we consider its parts? Yes, because there is, if at all that particular part is having the role it is serving, then it means that you must quote it. For example, what? I'll give you an example. Let's say you're saying that the heart has a septum, not so? Can't you see that you are now noting that the septum as a part of the heart? Then its function, the function is it prevents the blood from mixing, or it prevents the mixing of oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. You see that? I'll give you another example, maybe. Lily, I'm going to unmute. Don't mind. Keep the hand up. Yes, thank you. You can, for example, you can say the heart has valves. Function, they stop the backflow of blood. So it is very good to note them, Daniela. What is open saturation? Open saturation is usually very common in lower organisms. We usually say the lower organisms like the insects, okay, where they don't have vessels like us, which are complex, but instead they have what we call coeloms, or we call them holes. So it's like that. We can hint about that more next time, hopefully. And then can I leave? It's okay. I know the time is already used up. Hello, tomorrow we'll have a lesson at the same time. Okay. You have history tomorrow? Yeah. Okay, let me unmute some people here and then we sum it up. Okay, you can now turn on your camera. Lily, unmute. Lily, try to unmute. Is it possible anyway? Uh-huh. Can you now talk? Yes? Okay, you can type it. It's okay. Oh, can't unmute. Sorry. All right. It has been nice meeting you. I always believe in continuous improvement. We shall keep simplifying as we solve. Okay. It was a first lesson, and we are going to talk about all that resource factor in the next lesson, which happens to be on Monday, hopefully, same time. Yeah, the D antigen and all those ones. Who is going to give us? Yeah, actually, next time we should start with the opening prayer, just that you people began late, Then we shall also have the closing prayer. Or you want to type the prayer?
Instant. Chirabu, has the teacher just dropped off? Melissa, Elio, has the teacher just dropped off?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, he did.
Okay. 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 Okay, we can wait for him to get back, but let me leave you with the rights.
Hello, everyone.